up in the building, and then the dust and the debris after the collapses was so strong that you couldn't see anything. One person described thinking he was lost in a cloud of dust and then being saved by the flash of a photographer's camera.
Marianne, do you have any sense of whether most of the people who were in the building got out or not?
It's very, very difficult to know that at this time. I mean, even the mayor is hesitating to estimate. He said in his press conference that he guessed there were 10,000 people, he said this is a guess, so that there were 10,000 people in the building. And then he talked about, but many of those people may have been rescued. He said that 1,500 people were brought over to New Jersey, the New Jersey shore on ferries, so certainly that many were saved, and 600 people this was earlier in the day, he was saying this, but the 600 were treated in local hospitals, 150 removed by EMS, but now it's just very difficult to tell.
Thanks very much, Marianne.
Thank you.
Marianne McCune is a reporter with WNYC in New York City.
Our colleague Robert Siegel is also in New York. Robert, the difficult thing here, I guess, throughout this day is to avoid panic among the people there?
Yeah, I think what I saw today, and this was in Midtown Manhattan, so it wasn't immediately in the area of destruction. It wasn't panic. People were obviously very anxious. There was I didn't hear much gallows humor from anyone. This was not like a blackout where there's some element of fun to it, not at all. And on the other hand, although I guess we really won't know what truly happened all over New York City today for a while, I didn't get any sense of violence or looting or anything like that.
In the city, the mass transit, let's say people wanting to leave that city very quickly this morning, the subways were shut down, the bridges were closed. How could people do that? Subways were shut down. Buses were still running. Service was not full, but the bus would pass periodically, and they would be packed with people. The logistical feat of New Yorkers getting to work, of people coming from the outer boroughs, from the suburbs of the city, in and then out every day, is fairly miraculous without something like this happening. Then for New Yorkers to get to work, drop off children, collect them at the end of the school day, and put all that together is a rather difficult piece of urban logistics. If you can imagine how complicated this was, as people tried to get back to their homes early in the morning without benefit of trains, simply headed walking in the right direction, tried to hitch rides with vans as they came. Then you'd learn that one tunnel or bridge was open, but only outbound. And lots of people improvised, lots of people walked enormous distances today. I suppose, too, there was throughout this day sort of a desperate need for people to get in touch with spouses and with children throughout the city. Yes, I mean, the difference between an event like this and anything even remotely similar that might have happened 10 years ago is the soundtrack of it is thousands of people in cell phone conversations talking with somebody, a loved one, or calling the office, or just trying to tell someone, I'm okay. I wasn't at the office yet this morning, so I'm all right. So that was going on constantly, and at every payphone you'd see a line of people waiting to get to the payphone, obviously to connect up with people at home or with the caregiver of the children to explain what to do with the kid if you were stranded in Manhattan. New Yorkers have been tested before, of course, but never on this scale. Nothing has ever happened like this, and the measure of the magnitude of it is that as you walk around Midtown Manhattan and you look south and you look downtown, you would think that there's a huge fire perhaps 10 blocks away, and then you realize, no, that cloud of smoke that's hanging over Manhattan is the cloud of debris and smoke and dust that's gone up from where the World Trade Center towers should be. It is vast, and it is oppressive. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Noah. Our colleague Robert Siegel in New York.
NPR's Steve Inskeep has been around the city of Washington today, checking out reports of car bombs and other attacks. He spent most of his time at the Pentagon, where one of the hijacked planes crashed into the building shortly after 9:30 this morning. Steve, can you walk us through what happened in Washington today?
Well, Linda, I suppose the best place to witness the beginning of this day, and it's unfortunate to phrase it that way, was on top of a hill not too far from the Pentagon. I spoke to a gentleman who was here in Arlington this morning. He said he heard an enormous roar. He looked up just in time to see a plane flying very low overhead, flying so fast, he said, that he had no idea even what kind of a plane it was. And then that aircraft smashed into the Pentagon. We're looking right now, Linda, and I hope you can hear me as a helicopter passes over. We're looking right now at the result of that, an enormous gap in the Pentagon, in the wall. We're told that this plane crashed through the outer ring of offices, through a courtyard, through the next ring of offices, through another courtyard, and into the third ring. And the flames burned intensely for quite some time. Just now does it look like they're beginning to get the fire almost under control and the smoke is diminishing.
But with all that, apart from the area of the direct hit, people were evacuated from the Pentagon office building.
People were evacuated from the Pentagon office buildings, that's correct. And it's interesting that some people had different reactions, though. There were, we're told, and I've met a number of people today who actually went toward the fire, actually went toward the explosion and tried to find people, tried to help people, tried to bring them out. Pentagon officials have told us that at least one man who did this, who was outside the building, raced into the building, tried to bring people out, and was severely burned as a result. So there are quite a few stories of heroism here. Other people have simply tried to stay out of the way and kept a nervous eye on the sky. There have been false alarms and alerts all over Washington today, alarms about possible attacks on the State Department, on the Capitol, alarms about more airplanes in the sky, unidentified, and questions about where they were heading. On a couple of occasions here at the Pentagon, people went running away from the building at the urging of the police in order to stay clear in case another aircraft were to crash. But for the most part, people have stayed